We definitely have a soft spot in our hearts for nurses and nursing professionals. We've been very blessed and we've been able to connect with a lot of really cool people that are doing big things. And we did not have that opportunity as nurses. And it's kind of what we're trying to do is we're trying to help teach nurses what we were not able to do until we ran into the right people. If we were exposed to this earlier on in life, I can just imagine where we would be now. Colin, tell me about your upbringing. Yeah, what made you consider nursing? Go back as far as you need to go.
I don't have to go too far back because nothing in my upbringing pointed me towards nursing. It wasn't until after, I guess I'd gone down to Mexico for about a year doing a mission trip down there after a year of community college. And when I got back, I was camping. I met a guy and he was telling me about nursing, and I didn't really have any direction at that point. Really didn't know what I wanted to do. And he recommended it. He mentioned that he worked 3 days a week, made 85 grand. And at the time I was like, oh my goodness, like I'll be set for life. 3 days a week, like that's it. And so I started looking into it. It was, like I said, I was gone for a year in Mexico, came back, signed up for anatomy class, went in, like the teacher was going through the syllabus on the first day, and I dropped the class like that night because I was like, there's no way I'm doing that after a year out of school. So that was it for a little while. And then I did another year of community college. I was messing around doing sociology and political science and took lifeguarding. I considered all those as professional careers and rock climbing. I thought about being a rock climbing instructor, but ended up coming back to it. The following year, I started looking into it more and decided to go. And I went off to school, did nursing and played soccer, and it was a good choice.
Yeah. So you were playing soccer. Wait, what did you say?
Playing soccer and doing nursing. I went to school. It was like the major was soccer, the major was nursing, but of course my focus was soccer, as you can see. So
we can tell where your mind was at the time.
Oh yeah, my mind was 100% on soccer. Yeah, so it was like worked out. I mean, I hadn't planned on doing it. Growing up, I did not like hospitals. I didn't have anybody in my family that was medical, so it was not something I had thought about. But yeah, it just seemed like a good fit, the schedule and working with people. So I pursued it and stumbled a bit in nursing school. I had to repeat a quarter. I was probably around the time I was focusing more on soccer than nursing. And thankfully, after repeating, it went through. I passed and started working. I got my the program I did was ADN and then BSN. I did that route.
So you said your nursing studies, it was associates and then bachelor's. Go into that. What is that exactly?
I don't know what they're doing now, but at the time there was the option to just get your associate's degree, and then you could just take your test, get your license, and start working, or you could continue on another year to get your bachelor's degree if you planned on furthering your education at any point. So I went ahead and did that, thinking I would go on and get my NP or something like that. And I did actually get into NP school, but never ended up going. But it was worked out because, as it turned out, most hospitals shifted towards requiring the bachelor's degree anyways. But yeah, at the time it was like, finish your associates. I got my license. I started working, and then while I was working, I finished my bachelor's degree. So it was nice way to start making some money because I was broke.
Yeah. So then did you start? You said you started working while you're finishing your bachelor's. Where did you work?
So I got a job in Glendale as this was at the time. My title was CPOE super user. I was hired to train. They were going all computer based for documentation, and so they hired, I think, 60 new grad nurses to come in and learn the new computer system, which is the same one I'd been using in nursing school, so I was pretty familiar with it. And they trained us to use that, and then they put us all out on the different units, and we were supposed to be, teaching the doctors and nurses and being like a resource on the floor for them. So I was working a night shift I think from 10 or so until 6:30 in the morning. It was like an 8-hour night shift. And I was on a telemetry floor, and I think we would see like maybe one doctor a night, and the nurses were all pretty good at it. So I was basically just helping out as a CNA. I would do like bed changes and clean patients, and that was about it. I was doing very little computer stuff.
So all the reasons that you wanted to do nursing, you were just being fulfilled doing all of that from the day one.
I felt like life had brought me exactly where I needed to be, just right in that place, just doing exactly what I wanted to do. Fortunately, as part of the bachelor program, I had to shadow someone that either in management or education. So I requested to shadow the ER educator. And so I would go work my shift on the floor. I'd go back, sleep in my little Jeep Cherokee in the parking garage for an hour or two, and then I'd go shadow the educator for several hours. And we'd go to meetings with all the CEOs and bigwigs of the hospital, and I'd be like sitting in there just doing everything I could not to fall asleep, but I'd just be nodding off in these meetings. And somehow I was able to get that to put me into a position there. So when it came time for this program ended, it was only like a 2 or 3 month training program for that we were training people. And when it ended, we got to apply to either the units we were on, and I requested to apply to the ER because I didn't want to be in telemetry. And I was one of 4 nurses that got hired to the ER for their new grad program, and that was a 6-month training. So that was pretty good, and I was really happy to get like skip telemetry and med surge and all that stuff and go straight to ER.
For sure, yeah. That 6 months, were you with somebody one-on-one every single shift for 6 months? Or was it kind of a gradual, like you were with somebody for 2 months and then they kind of backed off and then you had like one patient by yourself? Or what was that like?
No, I was with someone every day for 6 months. Every shift I was with someone. As it went on, I got a little more and more autonomy, but there was always somebody that was my preceptor that was like overseeing me. I was a baby nurse for 6 months basically. So
Yeah.
it worked out. That was kind of like nursing school, had some ups and downs. I got called into the manager's office basically asking whether or not I was really interested because I guess apparently I don't know. I think it was night shift. I was struggling. My motivation was like not there all the time because it was rough.
Working 3 days a week, playing 4 days a week, that wasn't doing it for you. You need actually to like what you're doing.
It was, yeah, but at the time, like just adjusting to, the night shifts were tough when I was doing 5 a week at 8 hours, but doing 12-hour night shifts, and then I was commuting. I would drive, I think coming home was like an hour and a half in the morning after not sleeping all night. I was struggling. So when I'd be off, it was like a day and a half of recovery. And then then I was having a good time. But all in all, I think I'd always gotten by with hard work. And just like nursing school, you actually had to like know something in the ER. So it was like, I was struggling a little bit, but I got it together. By the end, I finished maybe top of my class. I don't know, there were 4 of us, so it's not really a big deal, but
Top 4 of your class.
I finished anyways. And I was hired on full time. I passed my probation period and I was hired on full time. So it worked out. And that was the beginning of I guess 10 or 11 year career in the ER.
Did you work them all in the same hospital, or did you move around different hospitals in the area?
No, I have a fear of commitment, I guess, when it comes to work and the hospitals. But
Says the man who married my sister.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I can only commit so much, and I'm already married and I have a kid, so it's like that's as much commitment as I can handle. But yeah, I did 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years at Glendale, and then I started traveling, and I traveled out to Loma Linda. I went up north. I traveled locally, and then I worked at UCLA for a bit. I did a brief stint in interventional radiology. Apparently, I wasn't a good fit for them because they canned me pretty quick. So never really knew why. And then I got some more travel assignments. Went out to Wisconsin, traveled for a bit, came back. I did some PACU and pre-op. So a little bit of everything, but mostly ER in several different hospitals. So felt like I got to see a lot. I would say, I think like the one thing I did see was that like, regardless of where you are, like crazy's crazy and they're all over the place in the ER. So it kept it interesting.
That was one reason I never had the desire to go down there, because I mean I'm sure you learn a lot and you see a lot of stuff, and emergency room is emergency room. Like you see some really cool stuff, but I just couldn't imagine taking care of the usuals. Like the emergency room is not supposed to have the usuals. It's supposed to have like emergencies. So that's one thing I could not bring myself to do.
Well, I was, yeah, I mean, and that's, fast forward to now, I haven't been working in the hospital for almost 2 years now. And I love the work. I love working with people. I love trauma patients. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it was interesting. Like
The excitement.
I enjoyed the challenge of it and it was exciting. Yeah.
ER nurses, they have the stigma of the adrenaline junkies. Colin seems like you fit that mold a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it was just different. Like I liked that it was different every day. Like I wasn't coming back to the same patient for like 3 weeks. I mean, it was like maybe I'd come back to the same person, but then it's like at some point they would get admitted and then they would leave, and then a few days later then they would come back as their frequent flyers or whatever. But yeah, for the most part it was like change, and I liked that. I just liked a changing environment, and so that part was exciting.
Yeah. So you mentioned you've been out of nursing, out of the ER for 2 years. What are you doing now? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's been 2 years. I guess what it was, like December of 2021. My last patient came in at like 1 or 2 in the morning with a summer sausage stuck up his end piece, and and so it was like a memorable way to go out. But yeah, 2 years ago I left, and now I'm doing property management full time for the building I live in Los Angeles, and I manage the portfolio with my wife. I manage the portfolio that we own with All Day Investments, which is our real estate investing company, and do a little handyman, like carpentry type stuff on the side. Just remodeled an Airstream, so that's been fun. We just did a little trip on that.
Yeah, he did a really good job. You guys should go take a look at what he's done. It's been really cool. We went camping this last summer in it, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah,
wish I was handy with my hand like that.
It's a work in progress, but it's getting there, and it worked. We're gone for a month. We did about 2 weeks actually living in the Airstream, and it was nice. It was comfortable, so it was a fun project.
What would you say? So you practiced nursing for, did you say 12 years?
Yeah. I guess it was like about 10 or 11 years.
And mostly ER, some traveling at the end. And I know you did a little PACU. I don't know if you mentioned that, but I just know you did a little bit of PACU. Yeah. What about nursing prepared you for taking the next step to do property management and real estate investing? Where's the interlocking of development there?
I think, just, the interpersonal skills, I suppose. I mean, you're working with a varying degree of people in the hospital. So it's like even we had celebrities, we'd have like wealthy people, we have homeless people. So you're working with a variety of people, and especially in property management, I mean, you're dealing with all kinds of people. We have our LA portfolio we manage, and that's one kind of people. And even within that building, there's different personalities and everything. And then Wisconsin's a whole different thing. So it's helped with that. It's challenging in a different way, but it's still challenging. And then I guess now when people ask me for stuff, I'm just kind of like, well, you're not dying, so
it can wait.
Yeah.
Everything can wait for the most part.
Yeah. After like you see a couple good traumas, it's like, well, yeah, I guess whatever else is going on isn't as important. So, but yeah, I think just working hard and figuring out problems and just working with people mostly.
And where do you see your future? What are your plans for the next 5, 10, even 30 years? What do you see yourself doing?
Oh man, I have a hard time thinking about next week, but no, 5 or 10 years. I mean, we're doing our real estate now, and I definitely see growing that, growing our Wisconsin portfolio and just our all day investments portfolio in general, and the property management. Probably going to try and grow that here in LA as well. And then just this podcast. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I know you're excited, but I'm excited about this just because I feel like it's just a good opportunity to meet a lot of like-minded people and just learn a lot and provide something for others. So I'm really excited about the podcast. In 5 years, I hope this is thriving. I don't know if I said this to you, Josh, but I think we're like talking about the goal of this being kind of like the bigger pockets for nurses, like investing nurses. So that's where I'd like to see this go.
Yeah, we definitely have a soft spot in our hearts for nurses and nursing professionals.
Yeah.
We've been very blessed and we've been able to connect with a lot of really cool people that are doing big things. And we did not have that opportunity as nurses. And it's kind of what we're trying to do is we're trying to help teach nurses what we were not able to do until we ran into the right people. If we were exposed to this earlier on in life, I can just imagine where we would be now. So we're trying to help introduce different concepts on growth and business and everything possible as early as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, yeah, just providing a resource for people so they could figure out the stuff that we now know a lot sooner than we learned it. So that's what I want to do. And then, like I said, just growing our real estate portfolio and just getting back some time and just being able to do some traveling and do some big projects and just make a difference, I guess. It sounds cliche, but I don't know how else to word it. But yeah, so I mean, that's, I'd say, more or less my story. I mean, there was any of you listening that are ER nurses, you know how crazy. I mean, any nurses in general. I mean, there's crazy stuff that happens on every floor of the hospital. So anybody that's a nurse knows how crazy it can be. And it's also a great career. And the schedule's amazing. You can travel without taking time off. Pay's pretty good. You can always pick up extra shifts. But, the pay is tied to the amount of time you work. So that's something. Again, though, with nursing, like the nice thing about it is that you aren't stuck with wherever you are. I think that's one of the things that always like trip me up with medicine and doctors. It's just like you specialize in something and that's like your thing. And to change it is such a big deal. Whereas like with nursing, if you don't like ER, I tried IR. Didn't really like that. They didn't like me. That worked out. And then I did a little PACU and I did all that. And then if you want to go on, you can be Josh and you can go ahead and become a CRNA and get your advanced practice red certifications, either that or NP. So I think it provides a lot of opportunities, and that's what's great about nursing. But yeah, with that being said, let's talk about you. How did you get into it?
How did I get into nursing?
Originally,
my dad's a CRNA, and I knew that from the start, from early on in nursing school, I knew nursing by itself was not for me. But my dad was a CRNA, and he encouraged me to think about doing anesthesia. And I saw what his life looked like. I was like, hey, that's not so bad. You make a good salary. You come home. You're not dealing with hospitals throughout the night. Like it's not too bad. And the money was there, it's always something to think about. So anyway, I had a blueprint early on how to become a CRNA, and I kind of followed it as closely as I could. So I got a job as a nurse tech in the hospital in one of the intensive care units in Chattanooga, Tennessee, while I was in nursing school. As soon as I graduated, I took boards, and the next day I was working as a nurse in that same ICU. While I was in the ICU, I was finishing my bachelor's. So I was getting my required experience before I could go to CRNA school. I was doing that while I was finishing my bachelor's, which is another one of the requirements. So I was like stacking requirements, doing 2 at a time until I was ready to go. While I was finishing my bachelor's, I was taking some advanced chemistries, just anything to make my resume better. Because when I first started nursing school, like Colin, soccer was a high priority to me. Really, it was soccer, but really it was just anything: soccer, basketball, football, softball, anything that required activity and coordination. Loved it, all of them. So I didn't do so hot my first couple of years, and then when I was a junior, actually, I became with child. No, my girlfriend at the time became pregnant, and we ended up getting married and having a kid, and that was where my mind shifted, because now I knew I could not get where I wanted to be unless I buckled down, focused, and start doing well. So it wasn't until that point that I started doing well in school. And thank goodness, I say my oldest, she's the best thing that ever happened to our family, because that's when I realized that sports was not going to get me anywhere in life. So I started doing well in school after that. Going back to the stacking, I was doing requirements, kind of stacking until I met all the requirements for schools. And as soon as I did, I started applying to schools. And there used to be, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be a website online that would tell you the CRNA, the anesthesia application deadlines. And I was just going through, I was applying right before the deadline. I would apply to them and I would keep going down the list until I got a couple of interviews. And during my first interview, I got accepted. So I started school when I was, how old was I? I think I was 23 still when I started anesthesia school. Because I was able to stack the requirements, I was able to get them done a little quicker than most people. So we moved to Florida, went to school down there, and did school. School was hard. It was really tough, but really, it's all in your mindset. Most people are like, "Oh my goodness, how do you study for 10 hours a day?" Well, really, you just do what you have to do. And at that time, I had a family, and I just did whatever it took. And I had been working full time for 2 years, and working full time while taking full time school and taking extra classes in the evening and working night shift. So at that point, I had been just going so hard for years, and it didn't seem like it was anything different. It was hard, but just it's just keep doing what you have to do. So anyway, studying 8 to 10 hours a day didn't feel any different. It was just I'm studying instead of working in the hospital. Anyway, so I get through anesthesia school and graduate. I was 25. Took a job up here in Wisconsin and settled. Been here ever since. We've been here about 5 years, and that's the story how I became a CRNA.
So it sounds like my mistake was not getting my girlfriend pregnant.
That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah.
If you need a little mindset shift,
there you go.
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
And I am kidding. I do not recommend that to anybody.
Yeah, we definitely don't recommend that. Just a disclaimer.
It worked for me.
Investing RN podcast does not recommend getting your girlfriend pregnant.
God works in mysterious ways, and that is exactly what I needed at that time. That's exactly what I got.
Well, and I could see that because I even in nursing school, I remember I don't want to say annoying people, but the people messing up the curve were the older people with the kids. And I don't even know if we had a curve, but like, it's just like you're established, you know what you're doing. Like you're not a young person like you and I were screwing around, putting more emphasis on soccer than education. It's like, you know what you're doing now. It's like you've got motivation. So it's like they were only annoying because they were doing so much better than me.
Yeah. And I didn't want to have to before I didn't want to have to put in the effort, and I didn't want other people to put in the effort. That way I didn't look so bad.
Well, yeah. And the only difference is like you were the married with children person in the class, but you were like the same age that I was in nursing school. So
this is true. Yeah. I was 20 when I had my daughter, and
oh yeah,
best thing that could have happened.
Well, and so that led to you you finished CRNA school at what age, and you were working?
I was 25. So I was working as a CRNA at the age of 25. So my class in anesthesia school, there was 30 of us. I was the youngest one. The next youngest one was, I believe he was 28, but the average was about 35.
Yeah. I mean, people used to ask me if I was old enough to start IVs. So I can't even imagine like you coming in telling somebody, hey, I'm going to be putting you to sleep during your surgery.
I did have somebody ask me what grade I was in during my program. That was I don't even know. It was just, I'm used to it. I've been getting that my whole life.
Well, I think you're the only successful because I mean, obviously being married to your sister, I know your dad, and you're his only success story because I think he was trying to get all of you guys to do it for a long time, which is a testament to
only anesthesia success story.
Well, right. That's what I mean. Yeah. The only one he got to do CRNA and school and then become a CRNA. But yeah, I mean, I know your dad loves it, and most CRNAs I meet absolutely love it. So
I've met one CRNA, and I met a ton of CRNAs. I've only met one that does not like doing anesthesia.
Yeah, well, it's pretty good percentage there. I mean, like I said, I got into NP school, and I think I just applied because it seemed like the logical next step, but I don't know that I had any real passion or desire to do it. But I definitely was interested in anesthesia for a while, and it would kind of happen at the same time that because it was around the same time I met Jen, and then obviously your dad was trying to get me to do CRNA too, and I definitely considered it, but it was around the same time that we were looking into real estate that I was seriously considering it. And it was just like looking at travel nursing versus going back to school for 2.5 years to become a CRNA.
I graduated back when you could still get a master's of anesthesia to become a CRNA. Most of them are doctorates, so that's like another full year of school
to become a nurse or what is it? Doctor of nursing or doctorate?
Doctor, either they offer different programs, so you can either do DNP or DNAP, Doctor of Nursing Practice, or Doctor of Nurse Anesthesia Practice. I don't know all the details of why one versus the other, but there's more than one option.
Yeah. So right now, I guess, again, with the flexibility of nursing, even within each of the fields of nursing, there's some flexibility. So I know you can work at a big hospital and take a bunch of call and work a lot of days and hours each week. But what's your schedule like as a CRNA?
Well, I've actually gone through several jobs. I've been a CRNA for 5 years. I've worked at, I don't even know how many hospitals. I started off in a big, I want to say level 2 trauma center. I don't know actually if it was, but they did a lot of stuff there. And the bigger hospitals actually, CRNAs typically will take less call. It's more shift work. So my shift was like 6 to 8, 4 days a week. And starting out, I loved it. That was great. I had a day off a week and I could pick up and make extra money if I wanted to. But it was not for me. It's a lot of people are okay with that type of a situation. I kind of was not. So I moved on and went to another hospital for a variety of reasons. But then I ended up finding a hospital that was hiring. It was a critical access hospital, CRNA only, CRNA run. I found my calling in anesthesia.
And the critical access hospitals, what is that?
That it's just a government designation. I don't know what all entails. I know it has to be out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, as the name says, critical access. There has to be very little amount of resources for it to be designated as a critical access hospital.
So like
much smaller. Yeah. So that the first critical access I worked in had 3 operating rooms, as opposed to both of the other hospitals I worked in had 20, I want to say, maybe more. So that one had 3. And then actually I after about 2 years, I started working at another critical access hospital where there's only 2 operating rooms, 1 CRNA per day. So on the days that I'm working there, I'm the only anesthesia provider. So if something goes wrong, I'm it. Like you got to be on top of your game to be able to do stuff like that. And I'd like to think that I am.
Yeah, we'll release the location of that hospital in the show notes so that you can stay away from that town. Just stay far away from.
You want the best experience ever.
No, if you want to go to sleep and wake up feeling great, we'll recommend you.
I got you. I'm your guy.
So smaller hospital, like if anything's real bad, you guys are packing them up and shipping them off as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we have a helicopter pad. If any kind of trauma comes in, we don't even deal with anything. Like they go straight to the level 2 trauma center across the lake. So it's like a 5-10 minute helicopter ride. Mm-hmm. But anything that comes in that's serious, they get shipped out. Just because, not that we couldn't handle it, but like the amount of equipment that we have compared to what a big hospital has, they just have so many more resources. And I mean, to be honest, like some of these severe traumas come in, you need multiple surgeons, you need multiple airway experts, they just have resources that we don't have the capability of providing.
Yeah. I worked in a couple smaller hospitals like that, and I mean, it's nothing against the people that work there. I mean, some of the people that work there are better than some of the people I've worked with in other bigger hospitals, but it is.
I mean, in a way, sometimes you have to be.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it is just that. It's the resources. It's like if you have one of the places I worked at night, there were 2 nurses in the ER. So I remember one night we had an ICU patient that the other nurse had. So she was basically 1-to-1 with that patient all night. And I was just running the rest of the ER by myself. So translate to CRNA practice. It's like, yeah, how are you going to, if you're taking care of this person and something else comes in, then it's like, you're done at that point. So,
yeah,
but they're great. I mean, from the ER nurse side of things, it's like so much more autonomy. It sounds like it's the same way for CRNAs, which I really enjoyed. And it was like a lot less management, a lot less oversight.
So, a lot less drama, a lot less administration trying to get involved. and I'm sure everybody knows that's not a good thing, is when people who have never seen a patient try to tell you what to do with your patient.
Man.
That never works out.
So unless you're an administrator, we love you guys.
And we love you too.
No, I mean, it's like anything else. There's good and bad administrators. I had some managers that were like, they'd come out on the floor and they'd be rock stars and they'd be just as good as anyone else. And others that was just like, could you please just stay in your office, because like you're actually
found a
making
unicorn.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
But the downside to the smaller hospitals in some cases is like you don't get as many pizza parties because I mean, it's a give and take.
And I was going to be a little more serious with my comment, but I was going to
go ahead.
Like the smaller hospitals, for anesthesia at least, I've only worked in a small hospital as an anesthesia, as a CRNA, is the amount of call you have to take. It's a lot. Typically it's either the first hospital I was at, it was on call every other night and every third weekend. The hospital I'm at now, when I first started there, it was on call for 14 days in a row, all night. You're just on call for 14 days in a row. And that not everybody can do that. Like that's, even if you don't get called a lot, just the mindset of knowing that at any moment you might have to leave and go to the hospital. It's not for everybody, but it was for me.
And you didn't get called very often, so that helped.
Regardless of how much you get called, some people just aren't able to handle the fact that they might have to go.
Well,
that's not something I had a problem with, because I'm an optimist. I'm just assuming I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's just the way you have to live your life, knowing that at any moment you can't go a certain distance from your house or from the hospital or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. If you're into going out and having a beer after work or whatever, you can't do that. So yeah.
Yeah, there's none of that.
Yeah, so it's definitely a different style of, or a different work environment, but yeah, the smaller hospitals are great. I think especially towards the end of my career, well, I don't know, my career could go anywhere, so who knows, but towards the end of my work, I really enjoyed the smaller hospitals. And so now we're both doing this investing thing. I'm doing it, I guess, I don't want to say I'm doing it more full time than you, but maybe kind of, but
you can think that.
Well, just in terms of the fact that like now I'm doing property management full time. So I get not necessarily the investing, but like
you're involved in real estate a lot more full time than I am. I still work my current schedule. I work 2 weeks and then I have 2 weeks off. And during those off 2 weeks, I do a lot of real estate and a lot of the tasks in the business that. But I don't have any plans on quitting anesthesia. I mean, as we said earlier, like I haven't met anybody that doesn't love doing anesthesia. And I still love it. We'll see what the future holds, but currently I don't have any plans on stepping all the way back. I could scale back a little bit, but I want to do anesthesia, so there's no reason for me to stop.
Yeah. And I don't have any plans on going back to the hospital, so it works out.
Working out, it's a win-win.
No, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I could always go back. Like, I wouldn't necessarily have an issue going back. I'm not right now, just because I don't need to, and I'm really excited to see where this real estate stuff's going to take me. But all in all, I have good memories of nursing, and I'm really happy that I did it for a number of reasons. But yeah, I wouldn't be here today without it. So, and not just because it's the Investing RN podcast, but because I wouldn't have met Josh, because I wouldn't have married his sister. So nursing has given me a lot. So I'm very grateful for what it was and what it is for me.
Yeah, that's our stories. We look forward to telling you guys more
soon, very soon.
Soon and very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys like and subscribe, if you're a CRNA or a nurse that wants to learn different strategies and ways to increase your income potential.
Yeah. Or even if you're not, just like and subscribe. Whoever you are, just like and subscribe. We got lots of good stuff coming up.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Stay classy.
Stay classy.